Hey, welcome to Overstock Domain. Today we're talking about how your domain name affects SEO. Is it important? A lot of people say it's not important anymore, but I'm going to say it's very important to have a domain name that is SEO friendly. And I'm going to dive right in. So, if you're not familiar with domain names or SEO, what I just said could sound like rocket science, but it's not rocket science. It is not rocket science. It's very simple. A domain name is simply a set of words or letters that people type in to find your website. For instance, right here, I'm on overstockdomain.com. And usually, if I wanted to find overstockdomain.com or any website, I'm going to go to one or two places. I might go to a search engine like DuckDuckGo, and I might type in overstockdomain.com. I see a lot of older people do it this way. And as you see right here, overstockdomain.com, I'll click on a link and that will take me to the domain name. There's another way, which is the way I prefer, is to just go directly to the web browser and just type in overstockdomain.com and that will take me directly to the website. Now, when it comes to SEO, and yes, I'm going to say it slower so you'll know that I'm not a fast talker. SEO. It stands for search engine optimization. Search engine optimization. Basically, it just means that when someone goes to a search engine and types in a product or service that's related to your company, that you come up. And it also means that when someone types in your company's name in a search engine, you come up. So the reason I'm arguing that SEO is very important when selecting a domain name, and that you need to get a domain name that clearly tells people who you are, where you are, and what you do, excuse me. So the combination I like to use when I'm looking for a domain name, I like to think, okay, I want this domain name to be easy to spell. Don't make your domain name hard. Make it easy for people to spell. Also, make it easy for people to remember your domain name. And this means that you shouldn't have any kind of weird characters like dashes and slashes in your domain name. For instance, if you are looking for a hotel in Atlanta, don't do hotel-atlanta.com. That can be tempting to do, but people aren't really going to remember to put that dash in there when they're searching for your domain name in a web browser. Now, you might still come up in a search engine for that domain name, but in a web browser, when someone goes and they think about your company, they're just going to type in hotel-atlanta.com. And if you don't show up, they're going to think that your website is down, because they forgot to put this little dash in there. So I see a lot of people make mistakes like this. They go and they put a dash in their domain name, or they put a number in their domain name. Now, numbers aren't necessarily a no-fly zone, but in my humble opinion, if it's not easy to remember, I just try not to incorporate numbers into our domain names. That's a no-no for me. So if I wanted to do hotel-atlanta.com, what I would just do is just do hotel-atlanta.com, no spaces in between. Now, of course, this domain name here is, it's taken. Let's see what happens when we go to it, by the way. It's taken, but it's not going to any particular website, which normally means somebody is just holding on to it. But anyway, I would rather brand my domain name as hotel-atlanta.com rather than hotel-atlanta.com, because nobody is going to remember that dash. And when you tell people your domain name, when people say, okay, well, what's your website name? Are you going to say hotel-atlanta.com? Or does it feel better to say hotelatlanta.com? It's going to be easier to remember. Now, back in the day, it used to be very important to have a domain name that spelled out for people exactly who you are, where you are, and what you do. For instance, let's look at hotels.com. Okay, so back in the day, it used to be very important to have the keyword hotels as a .com, because that's what people were searching in. People were going to the web browser itself back in the day when the internet was first, created for the masses. People were going to the URL or the web browser itself to type in actual domain names. They had to remember it. But when Google came along and when other search engines came along, it made it to where the domain name became less relevant as far as a direct match domain name is concerned. But I'm here to argue that with all of the censorship that's taking place on social media today, fast forward to now, so many people have built their brands on social media, and even more people have abandoned the traditional website for just building their brand on places like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and things of that nature. And I think those platforms are a great addition to your brand. But it's very important to now have a website, because these platforms, these social media platforms, are censoring and even suspending and canceling people left and right. And if you don't have a domain name that is easy to remember, how is your audience going to find you? And the reason why this is important, because you need to make sure that your domain name is easy to remember, easy to spell. For instance, if I tell you overstockdomain.com, you're going to remember that because it's short, straight to the point, easy to remember, easy to spell. So this is why SEO is very important. Now, when you look at a name like Google, Google doesn't really mean anything, or it didn't mean anything until they created the word, I guess. Nobody said Google before Google. And so you can come up with a word if you want to, but again, it needs to be easy to spell. So, in my humble opinion, having keywords in your domain name is very important, but it's more important these days to have a domain name that is easy to spell, easy to remember, and you won't have any problems. So, if you're looking for a high quality domain name starting at only $10, visit overstockdomain.com. We have a staff on hand that's ready to help you find the perfect domain name for your company. Stay focused, stay powerful. It's all about entrepreneurship. Continue to thrive. Until next time, talk to you soon.